Guten Tag, wie geht's? Everyone, you can hear me okay, right? If you can't hear me, just let these guys know. Well, thank you so much for Publica for bringing me back. It's been a long time since the last time I stood on the Republica stage. It was a very different world the last time I was here. Last time I was here, I was a journalist, a cultural commentator based in Hong Kong. And now I'm based in London. And we've been through a pandemic, and the way we live has been so completely different now, which I'm sure all of you has experienced. And I'm also going through a transition phase. So last year, I really fortunate was offered a job opportunity in London. So I moved to London, just like that, all the way from Hong Kong. And it just so happens that when I moved to London, I saw a lot of these people leaving Hong Kong. So it all happened last year when the British government, they offered this visa scheme to Hong Kongers who were born before 1997, before the handover. And with this visa, then it gives them a pathway to apply for citizenship in the UK eventually. And as of now, since the visa scheme was launched in January 31st last year, so over 120,000 people have already applied. And then I know a lot of people have also left Hong Kong for various different reasons. Maybe because of the political reasons, which you have read in the news. And there's also the COVID restrictions. A lot of expats have also left Hong Kong. Many have moved to Taiwan, and then North America, where else? Australia. Australia is also quite popular. They like the weather, of course. And but then the UK was obviously the most convenient one. And I'm moving to a different country. This is the first time ever in my life. And believe it or not, I was born and raised in Hong Kong. I grew up in Hong Kong. I never lived abroad. So I'm moving to a different country. It feels like, okay, what do I need to do? I need to find a way to adapt to a new life, in a different place. But at the same time, also want to, maintain a kind of connection with my home, my roots, Hong Kong. And I discovered something really interesting to do in London. So this is an event that I went to last year. Okay, so these are a group of fans of this guy called Anson Lo. They are people from Hong Kong. They have moved to Hong Kong recently over the past year, or some of them have been living in the UK. But then they have a connection with Hong Kong, and then one day they just organize this event and then just gather around and hang out and just cheer for their beloved idol. And people walk around and had no idea what they were doing, and they just thought, oh, is it like the another pink parade or something? But no, these are fans of this Canto-pop idol who just became like a superstar within a year ago. And so I was there because I filmed this, and then I went to another event. So I was there, taking pictures with this guy. So this is another guy, also a pop idol now, very popular in Hong Kong. His name is Chow, okay? And so this was an event that was happening in one of the cafes. It was packed. You can't see it in this picture. But then everyone was having fun and, talking in Cantonese and playing music and just doing, really cheesy stuff. But somehow there was a sense of comfort there that, okay, even though I'm so far away from home, but then it seems like, okay, here in London, I found a connection there and I found my people. And this is also another event, so there'll be like tons of events. So these are the boys. This is Anson Kong, by the way. I need to mention his name. Otherwise, if people see this on YouTube, then if I didn't mention his name, then, people were going to kill me. So these boys, they are the biggest boy band in Hong Kong right now. 12 of them, they're called Mirror. Okay, I know what you guys are thinking. You guys think that, okay, they may look like, okay, one of those K-pop boy bands. But people don't care, and I don't care. I love them, and they are really, really popular right now. So let's listen to just like 1 minute clip of this song that came out last year that made them this one of the biggest singles that they had last year. So Warrior is one of their biggest songs in 2021. And I managed to see them perform live before I left Hong Kong last year. And it was wild. It was a very different vibe at the time because, last year we were, still kind of in the middle of the pandemic. And so amid all the lockdown, social distancing restrictions and whatever depressing things happening in Hong Kong. So for the first time ever at that live concert, I felt that people were enjoying themselves, like for the first time in a very long time. So this was the clip I secretly filmed. Okay, so you can see that the crowd was wild. And the crowd was, so not just women. So there are children, young girls or teenage girls or moms, a lot of moms actually, middle-aged women, aunties, some uncles too. And so people were very happy that finally there's something interesting, something new, something fresh that's coming out. Okay, they might not be perfect, and because they're still young, and they became famous after winning this TV reality show that's called Kingmaker by a local TV station called View TV, and then gradually they just became, not exactly out of blue, but then they just became like really famous in 2021. When there have been a number of productions coming out, and then because of the travel restrictions, so people couldn't go anywhere. There was like nothing to do, and people were just stuck at home and watch TV. Then all of a sudden, this adverse environment that actually gave these boys an opportunity to grow and become now the biggest idols in Hong Kong. So this just happened in end of May. This was the birthday of Canto, and then there were like a ton of people in the streets. The last time we saw this many people in Causeway Bay was 2019 during the protest. It was a very different time, of course. I don't know if you have read the news But in 2019, there was this massive protest that lasted for months. It started because of a proposal against the people. People were against a proposal to change a law that would have sent people to stand trial in China, and then it became and morphed into a pro-democracy movement that sometimes became violent, which you probably have seen on TV footage. And I was covering the protests on the front line, and have been tear gassed and whatnot. But then this time in 2021, when the crowd came out again in the very same spot, this was the very same spot where I was tear gassed in 2019. But these people, they're here for a very different reason. They're here for a happy cause, just to celebrate the birthday of this young idol. So what does this mean? I just can't help thinking, okay, is this like a big kind of hope maybe for Hong Kong? Is it a return, a revival of Canto-pop culture? Or is it, something else? And I have been covering this phenomenon for like Variety and a number of different publications. And they have been, coming out and not just singing, not just performing music, but also, doing TV shows, etc. And they even appear in this painting. So this is a painting by Oscar Chan, who's a Hong Kong artist, but he's now based in Helsinki. So this painting was was exhibited at Art Basel just a couple of weeks ago, and it was sold to a private collector. So at the time, this is a turning point that, okay, that could be a future. Maybe it doesn't look so grim. And there's data backing this up. So it's a bit difficult to see from afar, but if you have been on The Economist, so there was one edition of Economist that they did a special. This is a really excellent infographics that you can play with online. So it's in The Economist. So they analyze the data from Spotify, and you can search like whatever you can find. It's like all the countries and all different languages music are available that you can search. So I had to go with it, and I played around, and I discovered that there's a return of Canto-pop, like Cantonese music, in since March, April 2020. And then because previously, obviously, people in Hong Kong, they were not listening to Canto-pop anymore, and they were listening to K-pop, maybe English or whatever, but just not Cantonese. But then in March, April 2020, people started listening to Cantonese music again. That timing also coincides with the COVID situation and people, stuck at home. But then it also points to a change of direction, a change of taste. People seem to be, paying more attention to the local culture, local development. Remember, in the 80s, in the 90s, or even like 70s, Hong Kong was the entertainment hub. Hong Kong was the culture hub of Asia. It had the best movies from, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Zhao Mu, Chow and all the action heroes, so Wong Kar-wai, Johnny To in the 90s and even 2000s. And then there was also the Canto-pop. The entertainment industry in Hong Kong in the 80s and the 90s, and even in the early 2000s, they were the biggest and strongest, and it dominated the entire region way before K-pop did. And then something happened during the past 20 years. Where did the people go? Why did people stop listening to Canto-pop? One reason was in 2004, they launched the CEPA, the free trade agreement between Hong Kong and mainland China. So for the entertainment industry practitioners, like film workers or filmmakers or musicians or producers, so it's much easier for them to go to China to do productions. And then since then, you have had a lot of co-productions, film co-productions, mainland China, and then Canto-pop stars from Hong Kong. They're going to do shows and stuff and etc. in mainland China, making a lot of money. And then because they were so busy with entertaining or coming up with cultural content that would please a mainland audience, which has a very different taste and cultural background from the Hong Kong audience. So for a long time, the kind of product that they produce, that Hong Kong people don't like them anymore. And then gradually, these filmmakers, these musicians, these pop stars, and they become, they just focus on the mainland market, and they've completely forgotten about the Hong Kong market. And it was up until around 2016, 2018. So I did a story in 2018. There was a problem because the Hong Kong filmmakers who wanted to make money or profit in China, they're not getting the kind of popularity that they had before. So this is a quote from a member of the Shanghai Film Critics Society who is looking at the films produced by Hong Kong filmmakers showing in mainland China. So she's saying people just don't like them anymore. They're not interested. They have lost the Hong Kong flavor, but then they are not producing films or content that meet the taste of mainland audience. So these people, they're stuck. They're not getting anywhere. They don't have a local audience anymore. They don't have the Chinese audience either. And then I wrote this also in 2018. And we don't see, at the time, I did not see any hope about Canto-pop because people are not listening to Canto-pop anymore. And then fast forward, 2019, there was a protest. And then after the protest, then there was COVID. And then things have really changed because people cannot travel. And then because of the political upheaval, there's been this discussion about, what is the Hong Kong identity? What is our cultural identity? How to maintain this Hong Kongness among Hong Kong people, whether you're still living in Hong Kong or you're living abroad. So with the loss of a number of independent media outlets over the past year, then people are, start looking at different avenues to try to maintain or to try to create or maintain this Hong Kongness, the Hong Kong cultural identity in there. Pop culture, Canto-pop, music, and contemporary art have become the most popular or maybe most viable vehicle for people to express themselves, to create, and also to do it in a way that is safe, so that they won't be causing any political consequences. So during this time, the political upheaval, I have been thinking, does it mean that this could be a chance for Hong Kong to revamp itself? I mean, right now, we know because of the national security law that was implemented in 2020, which prohibits activities related to secession, sedition, terrorist attacks, and national security, which is vaguely defined. But then in the realm of culture and art, there could still be a chance. And over the past couple of years, since the national security law was implemented, we actually see a lot more young artists or works by different Hong Kong artists. They have been able to find a way to continue with the Hong Kong storyline, but in a very different narrative. So, for example, this painting is by Hong Kong artist Stephen Wong. He's now very popular right now because he's very good at doing the Hong Kong landscape, but in a fantastical kind of different color scheme, and he's now the best-selling artist, Hong Kong artist right now. And the one next is Mac too, who's in the white shirt, the girl in the white shirt. So this was a painting that was shown at Art Basel very recently, just a couple of weeks ago in Hong Kong, and it was also sold. So there's apparently there's a market. So people are actually buying the artworks by these artists, which is a huge encouragement for them. So that because they can that can help them to sustain their creation, they can continue to make art. And then at the same time, you have a bunch of, besides the Mirror Boys, you have a bunch of young Canto-pop musicians who are still, producing, creating music and accumulating a huge fan base. And this rapper, Tyson Yuji, so he was in London performing just in April. And there was also a huge audience there.
Okay.
And also, there's also a greater variety of music being developed. And on this note, I want to leave you with this song. This song is called literally, literal translation, Gotta Go. So this is my way of saying goodbye to all of you. I hope this gives you an interesting little window into the current contemporary culture of Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
喂，即係要走啦，唔係啊，喂啊，即係要走啦，喂，喂啊，唔係啊，喂，即係要走啦，唔係啊，喂啊，即係要走啦，喂，係兄弟，咁點啊？唔好玩，唔係好玩，但都係要走㗎。唔係，你聽我講，真係要走啦。要走就要走，要夠膽講出口，要走就要走，揾呢度嘅出口。走先啊，係咁先啊，下次再玩啊，再見啊，係咁先啊，下次見啦嚇。走先啊，係咁先啊，下次再玩啊。
Then you're free to ask a question. Or you can find me on the internet.
There are questions? Amazing. So then maybe can you come up here so that everybody gets a chance to hear the question? That's amazing. Vivienne, do you want to come back up on stage?
Oh, right.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. I was wondering, you mentioned, the revival of Canto-pop. Has there been any noticeable revival of Cantonese, Hong Kong cinema as well in the recent years?
Well, thank you for your question. Actually, Hong Kong cinema is a very different story. It's a little bit difficult. Last year, so there was a change in the censorship, the film censorship law in Hong Kong. So that happened after the implementation of the national security law. So the way they did it is that so they would ban films that they think would pose a threat to national security. Mm-hmm. But what does it mean? What kind of films or what kind of messages would constitute a threat to national security? No one knows. Mm-hmm. But we know as of now that films related to the 2019 protests, they cannot be shown. Mm-hmm. So for example, the documentaries like Revolution of Our Times, there's this drama feature called May You Stay Young Forever. So these films cannot be shown in Hong Kong or inside the Red Brick Wall. I think it was shown, or it might be shown here in Berlin at some point. Mm-hmm. And for filmmakers, and it's really difficult for them because you just don't know, when you're gonna, you don't know when you're gonna, breach the red line, mm-hmm. and it keeps floating. So. But then I think some people, they're still trying their best. So we'll have to wait and see. And the investors are also being very cautious to make sure that, okay, they're not going to invest in a film and then suddenly it's banned, and then so they will lose all the money. At the end of the day, it's still a business. Thank you for your question.
More questions?
Well, actually, maybe I have a follow-up question then. I was just wondering, in the lyrics of the songs, if there's any. I mean, I imagine there's not any like explicit reference of the protest or anything, but maybe on a meta level, like references to resistance or something that you'd think maybe would be related also to the kind of like identity of resistance in Hong Kong at the moment.
That's a very good question. I didn't have the time to do the translation, unfortunately. There was a reason why I picked the song Warrior, because it's about it's a spirit of resistance. It's about voices of the youth being muted. That's how it was, how the Chinese lyrics sound originally. And I would see it as, I think, maybe not directly related to the protest, or not a direct reference, but then it's a way to address that, okay, young people, they have a voice, they have something to say, and they do want to be heard. They do want to be heard. And this is, I guess, a kind of, in spirit of resistance that was, carried in one of the songs. And this song, the last one, this is actually addressing the Hong Kong exodus. The video that you see this is a highway. This highway is actually if you take a cab to the airport, this is a highway. So this is about, okay, saying goodbye. But then this is saying goodbye to the party, and also, people saying goodbye to Hong Kong.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there more questions? We do still have time for one or two questions if you want to. Otherwise, I'm sure that Vivienne sticks around for a bit. If you want to take the chance and talk to her in person, I believe you can. Thank you very much, Vivienne, for coming and giving us an insight into your work, but also into Hong Kong and the pop culture and thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you very much for coming, everyone.